If you're researching different parts of St. Louis, trying to get a sense of where are the better places to live, which are the top suburbs, in this video, we're gonna go over the top 6 highest ranking suburbs, just the best overall suburbs of St. Louis. And this is considering things like school districts, crime and safety, property values, incomes, and just overall the standard of living throughout the top areas of St. Louis. So in order from 6 to number 1, it's gonna be Kirkwood, Ballwin, Ellisville, Webster Groves, Clayton, and Chesterfield. Now, I'm gonna talk a lot more about what they look like and just how they differ in terms of the kinds of neighborhoods, the kind of lifestyle you'll see. Obviously, they made it on this list. They're all great choices for schools, property values, amenities, all that good stuff, but they're just different in terms of how they look, what it's like to live there. So we're talking about all of that in this video. Hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Jacob Peistrup. And hey, real quick, if you are moving to St. Louis, whether it's one of these areas or somewhere else, if you want some help buying a house, buying a condo, navigating that relocation, just shoot us an email or shoot us a text message. My team and I are licensed realtors. This is what we do all day, every day, and we love it. We love hearing from our YouTube viewers and helping these families navigate the move to St. Louis. Now, getting right into it. Number 6, Kirkwood. Now, FYI, these are all rankings from movoto.com. That's the name of the website. I don't love the way they describe these areas. Like they kind of, said the same thing for each one of them. They're like, you will see colonial and craftsman style houses. I'm like, okay, cool. That doesn't say a whole lot, but alrighty. Kirkwood is really, really cute. It's like this mini town of its own. So, you're in the suburbs of St. Louis, you're very central, but it has like this kind of charming, historic small town feel. Now you will see the old and the new. Like if you're in Kirkwood, you will see both these, 100-year-old houses, a lot of Victorian and Tudor style houses on the older side, especially in these historic parts of town. Kirkwood has a lot of these really cute, older, almost farmhouse looking style homes in some cases. But then you have a lot of brand new stuff too. So it's a lot of this kind of infill. So you don't have like an older part of town and a newer part like you do in Chesterfield. Kirkwood is very mixed. It's blended. You have a lot of different houses, different styles. I mean, you'll see these, Tudor style houses and Victorian homes from the 1800s. And then you will see your brand new modern farmhouse or a newer built craftsman home. Like you have a mix of all of it. Now, the layout of, just how Kirkwood is set up, it's kind of got a block system. So it's block after block, very walkable, lots of sidewalks, and downtown Kirkwood is in the middle of all of it. So downtown is like this very cute, small town looking area. You will see shops, restaurants, a lot of these little kind of boutique stores. And it's just a really cool, small town vibe. It is very charming, very friendly. That's the style you will see in Kirkwood. Like it is just this friendly, walkable, really cute downtown area. I mean, you will see people just sitting outside having lunch when it's a nice day. You got these shops, restaurants, all within walking distance. And I mean, like on a Friday or Saturday night, you'll see all the kids out over by Andy's getting frozen custard, frozen ice cream. That's like where all the kids go on the weekends. Like I would go there all the time in high school with my friends. It was just kind of, the hangout spot in Kirkwood. The downtown part is also where you will see some apartments and condos if you're more interested in that rather than a single family house. Now with the houses, it's gonna be on the smaller side with the lots you'll see in Kirkwood. So this is not the part of town where you're gonna see a massive backyard, huge pieces of land. You're not really gonna see that. Kirkwood tends to be smaller with the lots for these houses. A lot of them will also be kind of narrower lots because it's, block after block. The houses are sometimes closer together. So the lots will be deep, but they won't be wide. Next up, we got Ballwin. So Ballwin is number 5 on this list. Ballwin is much more West County compared to Kirkwood. So Kirkwood's kind of in the middle of St. Louis County. Ballwin is further out west. Now Ballwin is a big area, there's lots to do, but it's more of like this very big suburban feel compared to Kirkwood. So Ballwin is more like the suburbs. You know, it feels like the suburbs. Granted, Kirkwood is also in the suburbs technically, but it feels more like, you know, that mini town, the downtown area. Ballwin is just more spread out. It's more of these suburban neighborhoods. And then you have your major roads going through, like Manchester. So Manchester Road is where you have the commercial spots, like all sorts of just shopping, strip mall after strip mall, big chain stores, car dealerships. Like you will see everything along Manchester Road. That is by far the busiest, most trafficy road in Ballwin, but that's where everything is. Grocery stores, restaurants, shopping and dining, all that is along Manchester. Now, the houses you'll see in Ballwin. So a lot of Ballwin was built in the 60s and 70s, so you will see some of these older ranch and split level houses. That's kind of the style you'll see. A lot of times brick, if they're on the older side. That's kind of the style in Ballwin. Ballwin, you're gonna need a car to get places. Like, it's not really a walkable area. Like Kirkwood, you can walk into downtown, you can walk from one shop to the next. Ballwin, you gotta have a car to get places. This is just like the Midwestern suburbs. You need a car, there's traffic, you know, that's the stuff you deal with in Ballwin. Now that being said, you'll see some bigger houses and some bigger lots if that's what you want, because Ballwin is gonna be easier to find, just more yard space, bigger piece of land if you want more like a 1/4 acre, maybe up to a 1/2 acre if you can find it. There's some parts of Ballwin that are more like woodsy if you're down south, closer to Castlewood State Park. It's more woodsy, bigger pieces of land, but that's really what you'll see. It's a lot more of this suburban feel, and Kirkwood looks kind of like a mini town with the downtown area, more walkable, more like block after block. Ballwin's just your typical like very suburban area. And we'll get to Chesterfield in a minute. Ballwin is very similar to Chesterfield. Typically, it's just lower in price for the houses you'll see, and it's a little bit smaller. So Ballwin's got around 30,000 people who live there, about the same size as Kirkwood actually. Chesterfield is like 50,000 people, so it's a little bit bigger, but Ballwin overall very similar. And that's what you'll see more in West County. So West County is gonna have Ballwin, Chesterfield, Ellisville, which is actually number 4, so we're gonna talk about that. It's just the West County suburbs, and you'll notice that difference between Kirkwood and Webster Groves. It's just a different style. So moving on to Ellisville, basically the same as Ballwin. Like it looks the same, it is smaller. So Ballwin is like 30,000 people. Ellisville's got like 9 or 10,000 people. So a little bit smaller, overall very similar. Like you have these big subdivisions. It's a very suburban area, so you will have these suburbs with the cul-de-sacs, the neighborhood, you know, you will have tennis courts and pools in these subdivisions. Not all of them, just kind of depends on where you are, but that's what you'll notice. And again, similar to Ballwin with a lot of ranches, a lot of split levels, and you'll see some areas that are more infill with the bigger and newer homes, because again, a lot of the older ones are from the 60s and 70s. You'll see some newer built ones from the last couple of years, the bigger 2-story or the 1.5-story, which is definitely a newer popular style here. That wasn't really a thing people built in like the 60s around St. Louis, but that's what you'll notice. Now, I don't know what it was. I think I was just having a moment the other day. I was talking to a colleague of mine and she drove into Chesterfield for an appointment from Ellisville. And she was like, yeah, it took me like 5 minutes. And I was thinking in my head, Edwardsville, Illinois. And I'm like, you did not drive here from Illinois in 5 minutes to get to Chesterfield. And she was like, no, I came from Ellisville. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know what it is. I have gotten those confused on a couple different occasions. And I feel so dumb when that happens. Cause I'm like, oh my God, like Ellisville, Edwardsville. I'm like, can you see how I got, like, I was tired. It was a long day. I don't know what happened. I'm like, oh my God, did I really just say that to her? And again, just like Ballwin, Ellisville is gonna have Manchester Road as your big area for shopping and getting errands done. That's gonna have all your strip malls, your Target, your Sam's Club, your Walmart, like anything you gotta go to get shopping done, it's gonna be somewhere along Manchester Road. And then you're gonna have the parks, the community pools, the water parks, like a lot of outdoor space, lots of fun stuff to go do if you wanna take the kids to the pool or just take the dog for a walk. A lot of outdoor space in Ellisville and Ballwin. Really, that goes for both of these areas. Number 3 is gonna be Webster Groves. So Webster Groves, we're going back towards Kirkwood. So if you wanna put these areas into like buckets, Kirkwood and Webster Groves, very similar. Ballwin, Ellisville, and Chesterfield, very similar. If you want to put like 2 different categories and group them together, that's how I would group them together. And then Clayton, which is number 2, it's a thing of its own. It's very different, but if you're thinking, comparing these to each other, Kirkwood and Webster Groves, very similar, very comparable. So Webster Groves, just like Kirkwood, kind of has a very, small town feel. It's like its own unique area. You will see the same thing. Historic homes, a lot of these Victorian and Tudor style houses on the older side, and then you'll see some brand new stuff being built. Again, it's very mixed, it's very blended with like the older homes and then the newer built homes. You'll see a bunch of styles. That's the one cool thing about Kirkwood and Webster Groves. It is not a cookie cutter part of town whatsoever. So you will see some parts of like Ballwin and Chesterfield that look more cookie cutter and like more developed with, some new developments that have been more recently built and the houses look the same. Kirkwood and Webster Groves, you really don't see that. Like you will see all sorts of styles for these houses. You will see a 100-year-old house next to a brand new house. Like it is all very mixed and blended together. So that's what you'll notice. And then Webster Groves doesn't really have a big downtown like Kirkwood. It's on the smaller side, but you got 2 of them. So there's Old Orchard and there's Old Webster. Now these are kind of, like a downtown Kirkwood, just on like a smaller scale. So it's not as big, it's not as busy as downtown Kirkwood, but there's 2 of them. So those are both cool places to check out if you just want some restaurants or some shops to go check out. That's what you'll see. Similar to Kirkwood in that it's, smaller local businesses, not really like big chain stores. It's just on a smaller scale. And Webster Groves is similar because it almost has like a block style in some places, like around Old Webster and Old Orchard. It kind of feels more like you have blocks, but not to the same extent that Kirkwood does. But it's similar in that you can walk around, you got the sidewalks going everywhere, you can just walk into Old Orchard or Old Webster if you live right next to them. So it still has that same element of just, a walkable little downtown area, cute as can be, just like Kirkwood. That is what you'll notice with Webster Groves. And again, like I said, with all of these school districts, like Kirkwood and Webster Groves are rivals. They both rank highly with schools. Their football teams are like arch enemies. They're right next door to each other. They're very similar in the neighborhoods and the styles you'll see. So Kirkwood and Webster, very, very similar. And in terms of price, a lot of these areas are pretty similar. So Kirkwood, their median is $402. Webster is $379. Ballwin, $345, Ellisville, $315. So for these areas, you're looking in like the mid 300s to low 400s for the median prices. Now we're about to move on to Clayton, which is the most expensive, and Chesterfield, number 1. Not as expensive as Clayton, but more expensive than the previous 4 that I've talked about. So now number 2, Clayton is a different style completely from all the other places on this list. So Clayton, very urban, very modern. It looks like a miniature city. Like it looks like downtown St. Louis. If you're driving through Clayton and you don't know where you are, you'd think you're driving through the middle of the city because it's very, very urban. So I'm talking your mid-rise and high-rise buildings. You got a lot of office space for the companies in Clayton. So anything in insurance, finance, law, accounting, like a lot of those companies are in Clayton. And you've got your fancy hotels, your condo buildings. If you're looking for $2 and $3 million penthouses in St. Louis, you'll see those in Clayton. So when I say downtown Clayton, it's got like a city feel to it. Now downtown Kirkwood is like a small town, charming area. But like the downtown of these areas, looks very different. So Clayton is like a city. It feels very urban, restaurants, bars, all sorts of shops to check out around the downtown area. That's definitely gonna be the highlight of living in Clayton. If you're walking distance to downtown, that's gonna be your place. If you just wanna walk in, get some coffee somewhere, go out to dinner, very cute. It is a beautiful part of town. Now it is expensive. It is the most expensive on this list. Houses in Clayton are not gonna be cheap. So their median right now is $775. So it's up there with price. Now you'll see some condos at lower prices in Clayton. Condos you can find for cheaper than a house, but a house in Clayton, sometimes it'll be on the older side. You will notice some old houses in Clayton, especially if you're in like the old town part of Clayton, somewhere like the Moorlands, like any of these older neighborhoods. You will see a lot more of these brick and Mediterranean style houses. So in Kirkwood and Webster, you're gonna see a lot of these older Victorians, and Clayton, much more brick and much more Mediterranean style houses. Now the houses are similar to a place like Kirkwood because they're gonna be on smaller lots, closer together, you know, more like an urban setting. So again, you're not gonna see big backyards. You're not really gonna see a lot of land with these houses. So if you're trying to get a house on like an acre of land, you're not gonna find that in Clayton. It's closer together, smaller lots. That's definitely what you will notice being here. So like I said, Clayton is, you know, more expensive. It is not lower in price like some of these other areas. Clayton is like right in the middle of St. Louis County, in the middle of the rest of the wealth. So Ladue, Frontenac, Town and Country, Clayton, Huntley, these are some of the most expensive parts of St. Louis, and they're all right next door to each other. So that's definitely gonna be the drawback to Clayton, because compared to the other areas on this list, it's not cheap. It is the most expensive. It is pricey to live in Clayton. But I mean, given everything that you got in Clayton, the beautiful downtown area, gorgeous homes, both the historic ones, the renovated ones that have been kind of gut rehabbed, and you got brand new homes, townhomes that you can find in Clayton. Now, those will be the most expensive. Like anything new in Clayton is gonna be upwards of $1.5, $2 million. But anything new in Clayton is beautiful. Now, number one, what I'm sure you've been waiting for, Chesterfield. I am not surprised by this. Chesterfield is number one on this list as the best suburb of St. Louis. Now, Chesterfield is huge. It's a big area. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff going on as well. So, I mean, there's a ton of new development in Chesterfield. They are building all sorts of stuff, from houses, condos, townhomes, new office space. There is a lot in Chesterfield. So there's a lot of companies and businesses moving to Chesterfield, bringing jobs with them, people moving into the area from different parts of St. Louis and from out of state. Chesterfield is really growing. There's a lot of stuff happening in Chesterfield. Like, I swear, Chesterfield, out of all the areas in St. Louis, seems to come up the most in conversation with clients who reach out who are moving here. So it's definitely on the radar for a lot of people coming to St. Louis. Now, Chesterfield is beautiful. It's very suburban, so it's not gonna be an urban area like Clayton, but you will see gorgeous homes anywhere from like $400,000 to $4 million. You will see everything somewhere in Chesterfield. Now, there's an older side and there's a newer side. So towards the east in Chesterfield, that's gonna be 63017. You will see some older houses, older neighborhoods from the 60s and 70s, smaller in some cases with some of these ranches and split level homes. And then there's the west side of Chesterfield. So the west is the newer part of Chesterfield. More expensive, newer built, bigger homes. That's what you'll notice out west. The closer you get towards Wildwood is where you have a lot of these newer built neighborhoods, bigger custom houses. That's the theme you'll see in Chesterfield. Now, like I said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to talk about. So Chesterfield has a ton of shopping, tons of office space and corporate space. I mean, just for shopping, entertainment, all that kind of stuff, you have the Valley. So Chesterfield Valley is a huge like commercial district with like everything. Like everything you could want is in the Valley. Like shopping, strip malls, restaurants. Like the longest strip mall is in Chesterfield. That's the Chesterfield Valley. There's entertainment. The district is a brand new kind of entertainment hub. There's shopping, the outlet malls, there's Top Golf, there's hotels, there's like all sorts of stuff going on in Chesterfield. In terms of development, there's a lot. Wild Horse Village is the biggest one you will hear about. Basically a $500 million development. They're creating a whole new downtown for Chesterfield. So there's gonna be houses, condos, townhomes, and a ton of corporate space for companies, retail, restaurants. It's really got everything. So that's right smack in the middle of Chesterfield. And aside from that, there are a ton of other new office buildings, corporate space. They're building a new sports complex. They're building a production studio. They are building several new neighborhoods and communities for these brand new houses. That is what you will see in Chesterfield. There is a ton of stuff going on. Now, if you live in Chesterfield, you're gonna be about 30 minutes to get into downtown St. Louis if that is your commute for work or you just wanna go into the city for a ball game. It's about 30 minutes, so it's doable, but it's not as close as Clayton, for example, which is way closer to the city. So you are farther away, and the median for home price in Chesterfield is about $507 over the last 6 months. So again, it's not the cheapest on this list, and you can really split that into if you're on the eastern side. Again, it's older, it is not as new. You will see smaller houses in the 300s and 400s if you want. And then when you're in the west, in the 63005 zip code, you will see a lot more that starts from like the 600s and 700s all the way up to 4 and 5 million. And depending on how big the house is, how recently built, I mean, you will see some older homes from 25 years ago, and you will see brand new, like new development and custom built. You got it all in Chesterfield. So the look of Chesterfield is similar to Ballwin and Ellisville in a lot of ways, but then you just have so much more stuff going on with new development that just is not on the same scale in Ballwin and Ellisville compared to what's happening in Chesterfield. So it really, really is bringing a lot of people to the area, and there's a lot to pick from. Like there are so many different communities, different neighborhoods. There is a lot to pick from in Chesterfield. So, I mean, it is not a surprise to me that it's #1. This is where I live now too. I moved here from Creve Coeur. So Chesterfield, love it. We have a lot of people moving into this area. So it is #1 on this list for good reason. It's just got everything. Like I am 5 minutes away from the gym, the shopping malls that I like to go to, outdoor space, parks. Like there is so much stuff, and that is what I love about it. And I mean, what you'll notice is that it really fits for a lot of people. So, I mean, they've got brand new apartment buildings that might cater more to the younger population, the young professionals working for one of the new companies out here. And then you have a bunch of new subdivisions, new neighborhoods. If you want a big house with a pool and backyard with room for a playground, like you got everything in Chesterfield. Lots of lifestyles, houses, townhomes. Not a lot of condos yet. They're coming out with a lot of luxury condos in the next year with Wild Horse Village. So they are adding to the mix of what you have to choose from in Chesterfield. And hey, like I said, if you are moving to one of these areas or somewhere else in St. Louis, just send us an email or send us a text if you want some help with that process. We are always working with clients and helping them figure out, what's the right area for you, what's your time frame, narrowing in on the right fit, and just navigating buying a new house or a new condo in St. Louis. We got you covered. That is what we are here for. So that is gonna wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you take care. Have a phenomenal day, and I will catch you in the next video on the Living St. Louis channel.